Let me answer a question that was originally a comment, but then it turned into a question, mostly because it was a question. If this makes sense to you, welcome to my world. If not, then you're probably a normal person and less crazy. Right, so what was the question actually? Well, that's very easy. It was about the cube. The cube describes attachments, suffixes that you can use when describing physical place. But what about non-physical place? What about the abstract? Well, that's as easy as in English, meaning it's really hard and arbitrary and a bit obscure in places. Let's try one of these. So here is a simple sentence. John likes talking about his dog. Of course, if you take a look at the cube, there is nothing that would indicate what to use, because this is true for the physical world. And this one is just like in English, it's true for the abstract. Let's try translating it and see what happens. So John is John. What about likes? Kedvel? Yeah, sure. Or I would go with szeret, because much like later this one, this is also an arbitrary choice. While you can say kedvel when it comes to liking someone, for instance, when you are talking about an action, a verb that you want to connect to it, then you have no choice but to use szeret, despite szeret being used to love as well. Oh, you know, Hungarian. So John szeret, and if you put that into verbics, and let's just do that for humoring ourselves, it's relatively safe to say that because it's the third person, it is szeret. Nothing changes. The only question is whether it's definite or indefinite. And the truth is that for it to be definite, this sentence would need to have an object that you and I both know. But we don't know about his dog. We only know that he likes this particular action or verb in general. In this case, we have no option but to use the indefinite option. What about talk? Well, that's noun. Let's talk about verbs. So, beszél, get fecseg. Oh yeah, well, it's definitely not jabbering or blabbing about something. It is beszél. So far, so good. What about connecting to verbs? Well, we did have a discussion about that in the video before yesterday. And in that video, we decided, well, I actually explained and you just accepted the fact that when connecting two verbs, the second one will get the ni attachment. So far, so good. And what about his dog? So first of all, let's determine that dog is indeed kutya. And now we need another table that will tell us how to conjugate the possessive. Luckily, the Hungarian possessive suffixes page on Wiktionary will come to the rescue. So let's see. So far, we've dealt with first person. It was always a single possession, first person. Now it's still a single possession, but it is his. So third person. And because kutya ends with a vowel, we need the ya or the ye as opposed to a or e. And here it is. They actually provided an example with dog. But let's try to figure it out for ourselves first. So ya or ye? Well, kutya definitely has a lot of back vowels, so I'm gonna say ya. But of course, being Hungarian, I realized that this just sounds horrible. Instead of just accepting that it sounds horrible, I've changed the a to an a. Kutyája. Now let's see whether I've done a good job or not. And oh boy, yes I did. There you go. That's what you need. Az ő kutyája. Of course, ő in the brackets is not needed because we already know that it's his dog, and that's the key. You simply have to remember that in Hungarian, you solve everything with suffixes and prefixes instead of using pronouns. And of course, if you come from an English-speaking background, or any other language background that has predominantly pronouns, you would want to use it because you feel that it's missing. Just like, for me, attachments are missing when you're talking about things using pronouns and all that. For instance, if I'm talking about a book, I miss something at the end of the book. Why don't you use an attachment? You silly people. Well, of course, because you're speaking English. Well, I'm speaking English, so I have to use pronouns and prepositions as opposed to suffixes and prefixes. But Hungarian is the complete opposite. That's what you need to remember. That's what's expected of you as someone who is trying to speak Hungarian. So we've dealt with the dog. Now there is only one thing. We dealt with his, talking, likes, John, and what about about? Now luckily, Google Translate is advanced enough to come to the rescue, as this has become somewhat of a catchphrase in these episodes, I guess now. If you type any sort of preposition or pronoun here, you will get an explanation. So to properly answer the question, you will have to learn this based on the explanation, and you will have to remember without using something like the cube. However, Google Translate is an adequate source when it comes to figuring out what's the equivalent of pronouns and prepositions. So we will need to use roll or roll. Now we've already established that kutya is a back vowel word, so we are going with roll. But something is missing. Just like here, it sounds silly if we don't modify the R to an A. And there you have it. That is the translation. I don't really know what you're thinking at the moment, but if you are thinking that how the hell can I decide when to modify an R into an A, then oh well, that's way into the future. So far, we've established that Hungarian uses attachments. We've established that there is something like the cube to help us with some of the attachments, and we've already figured out when it comes to abstract endings, suffixes, attachments, then you're almost on your own, except Google Translate will probably help you. But how far can Google Translate go? As you can see, it's not very complicated to do this, and I'm pretty sure that it is quite logical, because so far nobody has complained about my explanations. However, you do need to learn it, and of course using Google Translate might just not help you to learn it, because instead of teaching you how to fish, Google Translate literally provides the fish, or in this case the dog. And that's just not good enough for learning. Try to modify these sentences and comment in the document or leave a comment in the YouTube video, and later I can check that whether you did a good job or not. But whatever your method is, you need to create sentences. That's the idea. The more you practice, the more it becomes familiar and the better you get at figuring out when and what to use. So that's it for now. Hope that it helped a bit, and later on we will go on and on and on about the attachments, because as you can see, that is the way of the Hungarian. So thanks for watching, and bye bye.